is the one that is randomized, and non-probability is not randomized. The first example of non-probability is accidental, haphazard, or convenience sampling, and this sampling, it's easy to access people, it's convenient. An example of this could be like going into the mall and sampling people as they walk by. For our study, something that we could do would be going into a classroom and starting a conversation about depression and asking people privately at the end if they would be interested in partaking in our study. The next one is purposive, and this is a sample that you have a reason for picking a specific population of people. And for our study in particular, this is the sampling that we're using because we want to study the population of depression in college students and how that affects them. So for us, yeah, that's what we're using. And then the third one for non-probability is quota sampling, and there's two types of quota sampling. One is proportional and the other is non-proportional. And an example of proportional is in our study we want to use 10 people with depression, 5 boys, 5 girls, so we want to use 50% because proportional has to deal with percentage. Once we hit the 50% in the girl, we might not hit the 50% in the guy, so we want to continue the study until we meet our quota. Lastly is snowball, and this we want to identify somebody who meets our criteria and then give them an incentive to kind of recruit other people that meet our criteria so they can help us with our study. Something that we could do is find somebody who is depressed and then ask them if they know anybody that would also meet the criteria and maybe give them like a $10 gas card to partake in our study.
And then the example of sort of probability sampling is randomized. So the first example is simple random sampling, and how that applies to our study. We would, if we wanted to do a simple random sample, we would get a list of college students and have their names on paper and put them in a hat and then just randomly select them. So that would be a simple random sample. A stratified or quota simple random sample would be if we wanted to get college students who are just females who maybe are of color, so they have like specific traits so that we would be looking for. And then the next one is systematic, which is if we would have a list of students with depression, and then we would pick every 10th student on the list, and then we would choose to sample them. And then the last one is cluster or area sampling, and that is geographical. So that's like we would go to a college and we would go into a classroom, and then we would get the groups and divide them in two, and then we would, out of the two groups, then we would ask them which ones have depression and which ones don't, and then we would go from there.